Welcome back. It's 25 minutes after 8 on 3FM 92.7.
The minister has assured these caterers should start receiving their monies from June 6.
The money by tomorrow night should hit your accounts. Everything has been done. So you receive your money tomorrow next, I assure you. So I will plead with you to go back and then continue your cooking. And then you have also tabled your grievances. We'll take it on board and we'll try to address them.
President of the caterers says they are satisfied with the government's willingness to release their funds as soon as possible.
We are assuring our members that very soon the money will hit the accounts, as our minister has said. And the president has assured us that 1 cedi 20 pesos is just a proposal. As we are moving along, they will do something about it.
The meeting was, however, inconclusive of the proposed 1 cedi 20 pesos, as the caterers say the amount is woefully inadequate.
No, we did not agree on the 1 cedi 20 pesos. We let her understand that it's not enough. Maybe 3 cedis will do. And even if it will come down and it's 2 cedis minus tax, it will be okay. Because even on 1 cedi 20 pesos or 3 cedis, they will still take tax out of it. It's illegal not to pay tax in Ghana. So if they pay you that amount, you will still pay tax.
Well, we'll be monitoring whether these monies have hit the account of the caterers or not. Grace Asari Ajiman, Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Accra.
No, we did not agree on the 1 cedi 20 pesos. We let her understand that it's not enough. Maybe 3 cedis will do. And even if it will come down and it's 2 cedis minus tax, it will be okay. Because even on 1 cedi 20 pesos or 3 cedis, they will still take tax out of it. It's illegal not to pay tax in Ghana. So if they pay you that amount, you will still pay tax.
1 cedi 20 pesos minus tax. William.
Yeah,
Are you coughing?
As at March 1st, 2023, the World Food Programme is announcing that homegrown school feeding reaches 66 million children in 54 African countries. Almost every plate full, or 85% of the homegrown program is funded by domestic budgets.
Yeah.
Now I'm asking, recently there was talk about the prisons, going back to the prison farms. Look at, if you are traveling to the Volta region, look at the vast land, very good soil, big land.
Yeah.
What happened to school farms? And some of these ones I'm reading from the World Food Programme website indicates that some of them are even school farms.
Yeah.
Now we are talking about agric leading Ghana's economy. So if we are going to sustain this, school feeding program, can't we go back to the prison farms? Can't we go back to the school farms? We had a very big school farm.
Yeah.
And these are vegetables that we can easily get and reduce
the
cost.
go.
Because the talk that is going around is that these ladies who cook for their children, they are running a commercial business.
Yeah.
And you can't buy from the commercial market and sustain this
the money
program.
we give to them is not adequate.
So how much can be adequate on the commercial market?
Yeah.
Because following COVID and the Ukraine, Russia
war. And now there's a new one.
Food prices have shot up. Even in the UK recently, they were looking at how maybe capping how much vegetables we could buy. I mean, it came up. So the problem should be looked at holistically. And I'm suggesting that we go back to the prison farms, we go back to the school farms, even at the primary school level. We can encourage those who have the space to do farming, so they'll grow up and see the essence of farming. Because now the world is moving to an extent where food prices are just shooting up, doubling.
It's true.
And I always say that, look, it is not only tech or bank or this that will give you money or make you a billionaire. We look at people like Ted Turner, we look at Bill Gates. They have the largest farms in America as farmers. So if we really want to fix this school feeding program thing and even extend it to the free SHS, if you look at the secondary schools, why are they not doing serious school farms.
There's a piggery at Accra.
Yes.
There are farms there.
Yes.
Maize.
Yes. So we should encourage
tomatoes.
these things so that we can, at least the vegetables. Because when you're cooking the sources for the kids, vegetables constitute a very big chunk of the whole
hold on.
problem.
Let's speak with Charlotte Asante. She's the National President of the School Feeding Caterers Association. Madam, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
And how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Have the monies hit your account yet?
Not yet. I'm not. I haven't been able to check mine yet, but maybe in the afternoon I'll check mine.
So you are sure that the money will hit your account?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I trust the minister because she has done it before, and I know that she won't disappoint us.
You had to wait for 6 weeks or so before this conversation had to be concluded. What does that tell you? Because in the equation of school feeding, you are supposed to be giving the children food, helping with their nutritional needs so they can focus on their learning and also become better in future. What do you say?
Is it concerning our strike?
That's right.
Or the delaying of response from the ministry?
The delay of the funds is what pushed you into the strike because you were not being paid for what you were doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So same
and
equation.
The communication between the caterers and the secretariat was also not effective. That was also part. For now, what I would say is that we have been able to go to the round table and we have had a discussion with the minister. So we are only looking at the way forward because I don't want us to go back to the previous issues. I want us to concentrate and hold her by her ways, what she promised yesterday that she will be doing for caterers. Then we see the way forward.
Where is the coordinator of the National School Feeding Program in all of these conversations?
Yesterday, when we were on strike, we had a meeting with the secretariat. I think they called us to start negotiating, but we were not happy about the way things were going. Because even when they promised to meet us, they will reschedule the date and all that. But yesterday she was part of the meeting, and the deputy coordinator was also part of the meeting. And I think she was trying on her own to see if we can stop the strike. And because yesterday she said something that whenever we come to her, we promise to do what she's saying, but we don't do it. So minister should make sure that we do. Minister should make sure that we do what we are saying. But so that tells me that she was trying to settle the issue on her side, but we were a bit stubborn, as I will put it. And we're stubborn because some of our colleagues were going through challenges, and we have to stand by them, not as in we don't want to listen to her. So yesterday she was part of the meeting. She also promised to strengthen the communication between the secretariat and the teachers.
This stubborn academy caterers, as some people have called you, that you don't do what the minister asks. What exactly did the minister, the secretariat ask, and what didn't you do?
We became stubborn because, when you keep on promising your child that I'll buy you toffee, Junior, when I'm coming from work, I'll buy you toffee, and you come with an empty hand, and the child, I've seen that every time Daddy promised to buy toffee, but he don't come with a toffee, the child becomes stubborn. So we became stubborn because they keep on promising that we are going to solve your problem for you, we'll do this, we'll do that, and they don't do it. So that is what brings the stubbornness. But now the minister has promised us. Now the minister has been a deputy minister before. So this is not first time she is saying this. And this is not the first time we are having encounter with her. I think last year the same problem came and she was able to settle. She promised they will pay in that evening, and truly they paid. That's the reason why I said we trust her that she will do what she said.
I see. You came to a compromised understanding that, well, government cannot give you the 3 cedis you're asking for, but you will settle for 2 cedis. Now the government is proposing 1 cedi 20 pesos. What do you say?
It's not approved, so we are still waiting to hear something better from them.
But that's the proposition of government, and you know that if government proposes stuff
the mother of the ministry, that's the gender minister, has promised us that she will see if they can do something about it. So we hold her by her word that
so
do something.
So what is it going to be? 3 cedis, 2 cedis, 2 cedis 50 pesos, 1 cedi 50 pesos?
At least if government cannot even pay the 3 cedis, and it comes down to 2 cedis for managing.
Are you going back to start feeding the children, or are you waiting for the money to hit your account first?
Immediately the money hit the account, all the caterers will go to market and buy the food stuff and start cooking, if even tomorrow. So we are still waiting for the money to hit our account.
So money in a hand, back in the ground, like they say. And don't you miss the children?
We miss them. Last week I drove to my school to just say hi to them, and they were all saying, "Abancho, when are you coming?" So we miss them.
Your nickname among the children is Abancho.
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 Yes, Abancho.
Which school is that?
Michelle Camp.
Which school is that?
Michelle Camp.
Oh, okay. Stubborn Academy. Barracks boys. Okay, I see. Now, so for your caterers, how did you hold them up during these times that they had to wait, they were not working and all of that? Tell me some of the stories that you heard from some of your caterers.
No, some of the caterers was feeling very bad concerning the challenges before. Some of them, this is their job. Others, like us, we have other side jobs that we have been doing. And some of them, maybe through this project, they have lost a lot of money. They have lost a lot of money and all that. So some of them were so worried about the situation. Meanwhile, she doesn't have money to go and buy the food stuff. So others will be saying that, when we wait and they don't pay us, next time we can start cooking here and there. And others was like, even if they will take the school from us, they can take it. But in all this, we try to console them, talk to them, motivate them that no matter what happens, government will answer to us.
Now, the key conversation also is about the quality of the food to the children. Will 2 cedis answer that conundrum, the question of quality for the children?
Ghana is really blessed. That's what I always tell everyone. Ghana is really blessed. When you drive from Techimai down to the capital of Kumasi, you see a lot of women selling foodstuffs at the roadside. And when you go deep into the villages, it's costless. So yesterday, we proposed to Minister. Minister also assured us that she will contact the Agric Ministry and make sure that they supply us the foodstuffs. And normally, our food comes in season. So we talk about storage, how we are going to store the food. And we also talk about orientation. We have done orientation before, but it was done by the national coordinator, and she couldn't cover all the regions. But Minister told us yesterday that she will cover all the regions. She will do orientation for the caterers so that we can know how we will balance the food very well so that the kids will get the nutritional value that they need. All we are talking about is for the caterers to get the nutritional food. And how do you get a nutritional food? By giving a well-balanced diet. So we talked about orientation yesterday too. The minister has promised us that after her tour with the the regions with the caterers, she will start orientation. So we are hoping to see all this.
The government had planting for food and jobs. We're told that we had excess harvest. Also, there's the buffer stock. And we saw some food suppliers also threatening to go on strike if their monies have not been paid. What you talk about now is a futuristic attempt at solving the problem. But immediately, if the money is given to you, you will go onto the commercial market to buy your food. That will be expensive, no?
The buffer stock issue, we proposed to Secretariat, I think 2 years ago, for them to see if buffer stock can supply us foodstuffs. But for now, we the caterers, we don't want buffer stock to supply us foodstuffs because we feel buffer stock foodstuff is a bit expensive compared to getting it from the market. And aside that, the duration for the payment is also another thing. And we prefer the ministry supply, agric ministry supply foodstuffs than going to a buffer stock. And we are thinking if government will let the agric ministry train some of the caterers, because me like this, I'm a chief. I'm a Trafohene of Manwasi. I have a land. So if government will support we the caterers, some of the caterers, for us to do our own farming, it will also help. We have this thing we call backyard gardening. I think when we were young, our parents were doing it.
That's right.
So if the government will let the ministry train the caterers, even if the person has a small backyard, the person can plant contomere and other
tomatoes,
vegetables
pepper,
there. He can use it to cook. So school feeding is a whole project that we are praying that government will I don't know how to put it, though. Government will see to it that he trained the caterers to do more for their society at the same time the children.
Interesting perspective you bring there. Do you also think that the schools should be encouraged to have their own farms so that you can buy from them at a cheaper rate?
Yes, because when we were young, I went to a missionary school, I went to a Methodist school. When we were young, the schools, especially the missionary schools, they were having their backyard gardens. When a teacher wants to punish you, he will ask you to go and weed at the farm. And I think that will even motivate our kids when it comes to agric. They will have a different perspective concerning agriculture.
I see. In wrapping up this conversation, what happens if the money doesn't hit the account? That means you won't go out there to cook.
Minister would never do that. No. The money will hit today.
I see.
The money will hit today.
And
I don't want to. No, the money will hit the account. No matter what happens, it will hit the account today.
A bunch of OGD pa.
Oh, me OGD or me minister.
Did the matter of the Ashanti Regional Minister come into the conversation? Because the way he spoke to the caterers in the Ashanti region, they certainly were not happy about it. He has not shown remorse at all.
I think after solving this matter, we have to attend to that issue too. The caterers, not Ashanti region alone, but school feeding caterers as a whole. I think the minister has to come out with an apology to the caterers because we are women. And women are very vulnerable when it comes to our society. Western world is not like that. But when it comes to our African distance, women are very vulnerable. People just take advantage of women and get scot free because you are a woman. What can you do? But when we were growing up, our grandfathers married 3, 4, and they were taking good care of the women, respecting them, appreciating their little effort that they give to them. But as time goes up, it's like now nobody respects a woman. I don't know what has changed though. So after this issue, we'll go into that matter too. Caterers, minister have to apologize to we the caterers.
I thank you very much indeed for your time, Charlotte Asante, aka Abancho.
Abancho.
The children are waiting for you. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Abancho.
I mean, the conversation is interesting, and this is what I was expecting us to talk about today. And if you look at the father, for many children, particularly in low-income areas, these meals, sometimes even one,
they depend
all they eat
the whole day.
Yeah. And if you look at the SDG 2,
it's a mic for me.
The poverty reduction, which is part of the SDG goals, we should be doing this kind of farming, as she said. And the last time I checked, we had about 34,000 of these caterers. If all of them were involved in farming, can you imagine
the quantum of food?
Even if half of them started off.
34,000, like she's saying, and I was suggesting earlier, if the Greek ministry gets involved in this and they are giving the training, they are giving the equipment, you find some small space, and some of them are chiefs, as she said, access to land shouldn't be a problem. The vegetables, and if you can buy meat proteins, you can get the cowpeas and all those beans and the rest of them to support the protein needs of the kids. We should be creative about some of these things because the government doesn't have that kind of money.
No.
It's a fact. We've blown all the money.
The money is finished.
And I was just talking to this day student who told me that she's giving about 20 cedis a day. She uses about 15 or so cedis for transportation, and she eats from the school. So I never knew the day students were also enjoying
they actually enjoy one hot meal a day.
I mean, that's at the secondary school level.
Yes, one hot meal a day.
So if she goes to school, she has lunch, and that's it. So she's okay. And this is encouraging people like that to go to school because it's not everybody who has the wherewithal, to take care of their kids.
The withal. The last part is the withal.
The wherewithal to take care of their kids the way they should. So it's something that we shouldn't joke with. 6 weeks. And if some of the children, when they lose the interest in school for 6 weeks, getting them back.
That's it. They're gone. They're gone. 6 weeks. I mean, and you see, we tend to look at everything from a perspective of Accra, Kumasi.
Yeah, that's what I keep talking about.
It's not. I mean, you go to some place like Goma, Francho, or Amosima,
Kawampe,
some corner
somewhere.
Look, that's all they depend on. That's the only thing. They are waiting for a bancho to bring some wachi. Then they eat it and they are fine. They drink water, and they go home. Because there's nothing at home to begin with.
I think that
some of them even wear mufti to school because even the school uniforms they can't afford.
You see, so I think this is something that the chief of staff. I mean, it may sound far-fetched, but if it's something that the chief of staff can think about, the ministers, all the ministers in this country, should be put together to tour the country. They should see Ghana. Then we are promoting See Ghana.
That's right.
That's right. Ministry of Tourism is doing it. Some time ago, when there were issues about transportation costs, they put all of them and said they were traveling in Trotro. Remember once?
Oh no.
You know that
the bus was just for 2 weeks. Today, some of them are ministers. Sticker Stephen Amma was part of it. Today, they are driving with convoy.
There's some ministers of state who don't know the states. That's a fact. Me, I know the state because of my work as a journalist. I've been able to travel, and so when I speak, I'm speaking from experience on the ground. You go there and it is not easy, especially the northern regions, the northern part of Ghana and some parts of the western region. You see
now western north,
yes, and central region. You see cold poverty, chill penury. You know what I mean? So we should not toy with some of these things. The country cannot afford 5 cedis or the 10, because this one, if you look at it, it is 10 cedis that should be okay. Correct. Because you and I give money to our kids, even the 10 cedis, some give 20 cedis a day, and we are giving 97 pesos. Look at the difference. So if the child in Accra is taking 20 cedis a day to school just for meals, because the main meal is about 15 cedis, then they have 5 cedis for snacks.
Yeah,
this is at the higher level, those B plus A schools.
Right.
the same children are supposed to grow together and come and lead Ghana. It's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. Look, pay attention to the Planting for Food and Jobs document. This is from the website of the Ministry of Agric. It says Planting for Food and Jobs is a flagship agricultural campaign of the government with 5 implementation modules. The first module, PFJ Crops, aims to promote food security and immediate availability of selected food crops on the market and also provide jobs. This module was officially launched by His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo at Goso on the 19th of April 2017 in the then Bonafo region. The 5 modules are food crops, planting for export and rural development, greenhouse technology villages, rearing for food and jobs, agricultural mechanization services. In Ghana, the food crops sector is dominated by smallholder farmers whose cropping practices are characterized by inadequate use of productivity, enhancing technologies, to low use of quality seeds and fertilizers, weak market linkages. These collectively hinder growth in farm productivity. In response, the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, initiated the first flagship module of Plans for Food and Jobs campaign in 2017. The tenets of the campaign is this. Maybe we'll leave the tenets of the campaign. Look at there's one I saw about state institutions being encouraged to farm. Maybe we'll get into it. Now, the objectives, the goal is to modernize the agricultural sector of the economy in order to, 1, improve food security, which is what we're talking about. 2, create employment opportunities. And 3, reduce poverty. Objectives: 1, to ensure immediate and adequate availability of selected food commodities. 2, to provide job opportunities for the teeming unemployed youth in the agricultural sector and allied sectors. 3, to create general awareness for all formal workers and public institutions to farm and establish backyard gardens. Objective number 3, to create general awareness for all formal workers and public institutions to farm and establish backyard gardens to serve as food import substitution. Question we have to ask ourselves is, when push came to shove, the then Minister for Agric didn't encourage backyard farming. In fact, the Ministry of Agric doesn't even have a backyard farming. The worst he could do was to bring plantain to sell at the ministry. Plantain not sourced from PFJ farms by the ministry. But in objective 3 of Planting for Food and Jobs, it says to encourage all formal workers and public institutions,
including schools,
including the presidency,
including schools, including prisons.
See, we have it on paper.
That's what I'm saying.
But where is the implementation plan?
That's it.
Look, on paper, can you imagine that since 2017 April, when Planting for Food and Jobs was launched, we decided that we're going to do like Mr. Kugbulenu came to do at the NSS with the farming. Yeah. He introduced the farming thing, the NSS. Every ministry, department, agency, from parliament and judiciary, everybody had a small farm. Go and look for some 5 acres somewhere and say, oh, we are doing maize. Yeah. We are doing yam. We are doing banana. We are doing... That if we had all gone on this, but the minister was busy planting billboards.
What is holding us back from implementing this?
Even as Helen would say, the optics of seeing the parliamentarians in a parliament farm.
Yes.
The parliament should own a farm.
Yeah.
Where maybe when they are on recess, all of them will go there. As somebody would say, in bulk. look at Mufti, and you see them not with cutlass and hoe, with mechanized farming. Yeah. I mean, it is nice.
You only see that on Tree Day.
There are farmers in Parliament.
Yes, a lot of them.
Murtala Mohammed is a farmer.
Yes.
Minta Kandra is a farmer. Appiah-Kubi is a farmer.
He's a farmer.
Too many of them. I'll be surprised if Dr. Park is a farmer as well.
Minister of Environment, serious farmer.
Yes.
I've forgotten, what's his name again?
Frimpong Boateng.
No, the current one.
The current, okay.
Dr.
Oh, bring your name. Yes. Well, we'll push it.
There are a lot of them there.
But then can you imagine, look at the size of Jubilee House. And there's no small garden to say this is where the president sources his tomatoes, his onions, his carrots for all his salad to improve and sustain his Irish English.
And it also goes back to farming and
salad they would do Irish.
we've made farming to be sort of the option for those who couldn't make it. So for young people, even when you talk about farming, they don't see it as a desirable occupation. Meanwhile, you need the food to sustain life. So even the PR for farming in a place that has fertile ground like this is poor. Everybody should wish to be a farmer.
But that's because when we were in school, farming or weeding, if you offend the rules in school, you're given a cutlass to go and weed, and it's seen as a form of
punishment.
That shouldn't be it.
So in your mind, farming is punishment,
That shouldn't
and
be
it's for the downtrodden.
Exactly.
Yes, and so I remember the minister.
But the
saying,
world's
Kwekwe Free.
richest people,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
Kwekwe
yeah.
Free,
Kwekwe
the world's
Free,
richest
yes.
people are farmers.
Yeah. Medical
Farmers.
doctor with a big farm. That's
Yes.
cocoa, coffee. I mean,
Let's speak to Dr. Clement Appiah.
a
We'll speak
farmer.
with Dr. Clement Appiah, is the MP for Bolsa South and the deputy ranking member for the Parliament's Select Committee on Education. Doc, Solo? Kubasa, Jem. Great. Go to Doc. Are you a farmer?
Yes, I am.
What-
As a matter of fact, I don't just have a farm, but I also do gardening. In my residence here in Accra, Madam and I, we have a garden. And in my residence in Bolga too, I have a garden, and I keep a number of animals, goats, sheep, guinea fowls, a few turkeys, ducks, and yes. So yes, it is a family tradition. My old lady has always kept a garden. She's always farmed, and she's always kept animals. So I have inherited it. So have my other siblings.
I see. Now let's get into education issues. First, from school feeding. The caterers just got off the phone with Charlotte Asante. She's president of the School Feeding Caterers Association. She said they have hope and they trust in the minister that the monies will start hitting their accounts today, and then they will return to the schools to cook for the children as soon as the monies hit the account. First, your reaction.
Well, as the saying goes, they are in the theater. And so if we now believe that they can trust the word of the minister and therefore are prepared to resume the odious task of preparing meals for our wards with the paltry sum that is currently allocated, or the not too different proposal that is being made, we can only look on and encourage them to do their best. But you see, you said they are waiting for the money to hit their account.
Right.
That in itself is a subtle way of telling you that they are not swallowing hook, line, and sinker everything that they are being told. But Johnny, let's be realistic. We know that the school feeding caterers decided to embark on the strike, which has now thrived in excess of 4 weeks on two grounds.
It's actually 6 weeks.
One was the outstanding arrears, and the second was the fact that the current 97 pesos per child per day was not sufficient under the current economic and hyperinflationary conditions. The question then becomes this: while they would likely get their arrears, do the caterers truly believe that they can make do preparing a nutritious hot meal per day per child for the almost 2 million Ghanaian peoples that government itself claims are beneficiaries of the program? I say so because, it is strike knowledge that even the cost of an egg is above 1 cedi, 20 pesos. So how are the women going to perform the magic with regards to preparing a nutritious hot meal per day at 1 cedi 20 pesos. That is if government's proposal that it is making is accepted by the women. So I still have a challenge on principle and based on reality. Not because I don't want the caterers to go back to cook, but because I simply believe that the set or proposed allocation is woefully inadequate to be fit for purpose. I've argued severally and I'll argue again that this amount cannot even feed a pet cat. How do we expect to feed our wards? What type of food are we going to feed them at this rate? And I think that as a nation, we have become dull and sometimes tolerant of conduct by those we have entrusted with our public resources. Johnny, if you were to look at the 2023 budget,
okay,
government proposed 959 million Ghana cedis to finance the school feeding program for this current year in question. Parliament approved that. We know that in the recent IMF bailout agreement, and I've had the time to scrutinize it with specific interest on sections that have to do with education. Page 11, government has conveyed information to the fund that it has increased the allocation to the school feeding program, and get this, with emphasis, to offset the effect of inflation. Offset the effect of inflation. So if you know, as a government, that inflation is rendering programs like the school feeding program useless, and you have allocated resources to offset the effect of inflation, why do you have a problem increasing the fee to the minimum required, which is 3 cedis, 50 pesos, when you have even also assured Ghanaians and the world, when the Minister for Finance and the fund representatives held a joint press conference? I remember watching it, and I know questions were asked through various means. We were told that social intervention programs were going to be protected and enhanced. So where is the enhancement? When you are still proposing to give a paltry 1 cedi 20 pesos, knowing fully well that the said amount is woefully insufficient in providing a nutritious hot meal per day for our wards.
I see. Doc, so now the caterers seem to have come to a certain compromise position that, well, if you can't give us 3 cedis, give us 2 cedis and we will manage to cook for the children with that. That's what they think is a compromise position for them. What do you say?
Well, that is why I said earlier that I don't fault them. Because remember that many of them, this is their source of livelihood. They already owe monies to, suppliers. Some of them have taken loans, not even from banks, but from loan sharks. They are being pursued and harassed. Many of them, as a result of these pressures, are not even in good health. So whatever they believe they can get, the barest minimum, just to get by, they are willing. But the point I am making is that, yes, that is the compromise position that they are proposing. Government is proposing way below that. But we as a nation, as a people, we also must have a say. And that is why I alluded to what government said, what is captured in the staff level agreement, the allocations made to the program. So we ought to now call on government that these are our resources. This is what you said you would do. You have even presented this program to the fund. You have made the fund aware that you are going to use the increased allocation to offset the effect of inflation. Therefore, increase the minimum to 3 cedis 50 pesos or 4 cedis. So we can do that as citizens, we can do that as a people, but we can also understand the caterers in terms of the compromise position that they are reaching. I tell you that they are not reaching that position that they have reached willingly. It is under duress. They simply do not see a way out. But we cannot tolerate that. We ought to go beyond that and advocate, not because we want the caterers to just prepare meals, but we want them to prepare nutritious, decent meals for our wards.
Who is putting these caterers under duress? Is the Minister for Gender, Children, Social Protection, the Minister for Education, or the head of the National School Feeding Secretariat? Who exactly?
If you want my honest opinion, and I mean, you are the dawn when it comes to the political undertones and the influences. You and I know for a fact that every 9 of 10 school feeding caterers are drawn from the current ruling parties. It is no secret.
All right.
That is why you remember in the early days of the first term of this government, the banter between the former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Jaba, and the then Northern Regional Chairman, Bugri Nabu,
right,
about why it was women organizers who were being given the positions and what have you. So the political undertone is there. And so I see the pressure on the women to moderate their demand and expectation coming from the MPP as a party. Because, in fact, if you speak to some government appointees and officials, they feel scandalized and even embarrassed by the public outburst and the strike that, quote-unquote, party people have to embark on. Because from their side of the narrative, that then opens them up for the likes of their opponents, including my good self, to take them to the cleaners. So don't underrate the political pressure.
Should we abolish the school feeding program, given the fact that it is proving difficult to fund it year on year?
Well, my short answer is no. It is no, because the school feeding program, I would argue, is one of the most useful social intervention programs. If you look at the genesis of the program and the purpose for which it came into being, you would appreciate it. If you take a look at the data as well, you would notice that since its inception in 2005, there has been an increase in enrollment and retention. Because the purpose of the program, as I have read, because at that time, 2005, I was so busy pursuing my doctoral degree at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, Canada. But having read about it, it was supposed to address what was described as short-term hunger. Because research has shown that in the less endowed parts of this country, a lot of school-going age children were kept out of school because parents had to take them either to the farms, or they had to be in the markets or at the street side trying to sell or to eke out a living. And so by the introduction of the school feeding program, it then became an incentive. Parents now knew that they had the opportunity to send their wards to school, even if they couldn't feed them breakfast or didn't have money to give to them to buy food. This also then became an enticement for the wards to be eager to go to school. So it has brought about an increase in enrollment over time and has ensured retention. And with the current strike that is still on, by the way, in the rural parts of this country, we have received reports that since the school feeding caterers went on strike, it has affected badly retention. So the point I'm seeking to make is that, yes, it is challenged, it has issues. What we need to be doing is to look for a dedicated source of funding the program. Then we also then have to look at depoliticizing it and auditing it. Because as we speak, we know for a fact that unscrupulous office holders have managed to create straw schools, fake, fictitious schools, assigned caterers to the fake schools, and monies are being paid when this is indeed not the case. So the program itself needs to be audited. It needs to be depoliticized. We need to find a dedicated source of funding, and I believe that it will serve us even better than it is. So I don't believe that we should cancel the school feeding program.
Away from school feeding program, give us textbooks. The heads of schools are now demanding of government years after the new curricula was introduced by the government of the day. Does it come to you as a surprise?
Johnny, another rather unfortunate and I would say embarrassing situation. Clearly exposing the incompetence and lack of attention by this government as far as the public basic school system is concerned. But we've already spoken about the school feeding program, although it is housed under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. It has a direct effect on education. Can you believe that since 2019, when this government introduced and outlawed the standard-based curriculum, no single school in the Republic of Ghana, as far as I know, has received a full complement of the textbooks produced on the basis of the new standard-based curriculum. And why should it be the case? Remember, we even had to file a number of questions. I have written so much. I even issued a number of press statements. You and I have had that conversation severally before government even went on to contract printing and publishing houses to produce the books. Last year, the Education Committee was invited to embark on a tour to some printing houses to inspect the books as they were being printed, and I was part of that. So we went to Appointed Time, JK, Graphic Publishing, and we saw the books being produced. The minister subsequently announced that the books had been produced and were being transported to the various regions for onward distribution to the schools. But when he appeared before the government assurance committee in Parliament last year, he told the assurance committee that all the schools had received the full complement of the books. But all along, I knew that couldn't be true. The reason is that the publishers had gone for bank loans to produce the first tranche of books in anticipation of being paid promptly so that they can continue to produce what was left. Government failed to pay them. As we speak, if government has paid them, that was probably in the last 24 hours, and I believe that not to be the case. And because government has not paid them for the first tranche of production, they are no longer able to complete the assignment. And so if the books have not been produced fully for every subject, why would I be surprised that the Government Assurance Committee on its recent visit to parts of the Central Region is now reporting that headmasters and head teachers are crying over a lack of textbooks.
But why did it take the heads so long to speak up?
Johnny,
92.7.
you see, we live under a dispensation where public officers, civil and public servants, have been cowed to submission to the extent that they dread victimization. And I can give you several examples of how a few bold heads have spoken the truth and have suffered victimization. So when we speak about the culture of silence, it is real. Even you, as independent as you are not a government appointee. You are not on the public payroll. Your salary does not come from the state. You don't go to controller and accountants general to check if your salary delays. You are not spared speaking the truth. So you can imagine the levels of trepidation, fear, and trauma that most of these heads have to go through. So it is largely as a result of the culture of silence. But where I am slightly disappointed is that the teachers belong to unions. Mm-hmm. I have been a union activist myself.
Right.
I mean, when I was in Canada, I was the teaching support union coordinator. So I've sat and represented unions. I've negotiated collective agreements. When I was the student union president for Simon Fraser University, I was the employer because we had a pub, we had a nightclub, we had, a restaurant, and so we employed. So I've sat on both sides. And what I know about unions is that when your members are under pressure from the employer and are unable to even express themselves, and their conditions of service are atrocious, they are not being given the requisite tools to dispense their responsibilities, the union ought to take it up. So even if the teachers and the heads cannot, because of the culture of silence, they all belong to associations and unions. And I think that the unions are letting the membership down because they are the entities that can take on government frontally and walk away free of charge. The question is this: why are they not doing it?
Now, there's also a delay in the payment of capitation grants for about 6 terms. That's my understanding of the situation on the ground. What does that mean to the teaching and learning in the basic schools?
Johnny, it has very dire consequences, particularly for our public basic school system. Many people may not understand the importance of this issue that you have raised. But a capitation grant is the grant that makes public basic education free of charge. The only reason why head teachers don't ask parents to pay for the awards attending public basic schools is because the capitation grant is supposed to cover the cost of providing that very essential service of education for our wards. The capitation grant as of now is 10 cedis per people and is supposed to be disbursed every 10. This is the grant that is used by the head teachers to procure chalk, attendance registers, to engage the services of carpenters to fix broken doors and windows, to fix weak tables and chairs, to finance sports or PE activities, to finance cultural activities, to finance mock and all the other activities that we enjoyed and benefited from when we were in primary school. by virtue of the fact that government has failed to remit capitation grants, now 6/10, the head teachers have had to borrow some of these supplies and taking some of these services on credit.
Okay.
Some of them have had to go to take loans to keep the system running. And so that is why you see these days that almost every parent is struggling to enroll his or her ward in a private business school, because essentially, with the myriad of challenges bedeviling the public business school system, including the furniture deficit, the public business school system is at the verge of collapse, and that is most unfortunate.
Dr. Clement Appiah, I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We're grateful that you could talk to us. Now, sir.
It is a pleasure. And keep the fire burning. Speak the truth. As a vandal, you have my full support. Truth stands.
I hear you. Now, sir.
Now, sir.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. That's Dr. Clement Appiah. Really miss laugh. Playing language. Jonathan Syme, good morning to you of the ADB. We will give away what we gathered for Mother's Day in sure hope that Father's Day will not be there will not be a wishy-washy kukwasa kind of celebration.
Come on.
Yeah, we have to say it.
No,
to say it.
Johnny, let's take it back to our conversation this morning. Now we know that for the month of June, it's all about the dads. It's all about the fathers. How could we?
AJ would have been here to talk about it. AJ,
and she will. She will be letting us know that the month of June is all about dads. And in fact, we've labeled it Pamper Daddy Month. Pamper Daddy Month.
As if we wear pampers.
It's the air around the P for
the
me.
P for me. It's in the blow hot air.
Come on, guys. Want to pamper daddies in the month of June.
Pamper Daddy.
Pamper Daddy.
Fake.
So do we want to hear more about what we have in store for dads for the month of June or not?
Let's clear the Mother's Day sharing out of the way first.
All right, let's do that.
So let's bring the voice notes. Let's play them quickly, and then see what we can do with our lives. We have accepted our fate, eh?
Children of the future.
3FM Sunrise. Start your day with Sunrise on 92.7 3FM.